starts with this water chapter. There are more internal waterways in the state of Kentucky than any state in the U.S. other than Alaska. It really helps you understand why the distilleries are where they are. So we decided, as part of our story, let's celebrate it. What filters the iron? Filters the iron out of the water and allows for. Because there are, so many jobs. $8.6 billion industry in the state. There are a lot of people whose families work in the industry. So we wanted to be able to continue to celebrate that and tell those stories. Obviously, a farming story. It's really an interesting book. Permanent bullets that ties to all of the that's what it calls that. Ties into many war heroes and stuff. Here in a mini version, you can smell some of the common smells that are those riding lines and the pores that the product can seep into. Chapter. This is called the Gracious chapter. And this is in concept and design, but there's a belief that rising tide floats all boats in the bourbon industry, so everybody's a little competitive on the store shelves, but everybody also is quick to help others out. If there are examples in Kentucky where Heaven Hill had a big fire and lost, you're familiar with that, but then Monday morning there are multiple people working, and you can look into the industry, people, and culture of bourbon. You can watch your own videos.
So there's Corky's great grandfather behind Andy here.
Yeah,
the second.
These are all different speakers, so 10 different people can have their own coned audio experience at the same time. Without bleed over. They bought the property in 1994. It's amazing how recent the history is.
He would frown upon that, yeah.
So many of these are donated from other partners, or this is all Brown Forman here.
Some of these are amazing additions to our life.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these back to, not all of it, but a lot of these are from Chet Zoller.
Manufacturing facilities. We got the building just about 6 years ago. Spent 2 years under construction in here. So the place means a lot to us, what we're trying to accomplish, because we didn't just sign a check and say, hey, I'd like to have a distillery. We took it down to raw beams and wood. I was driving my Bobcat tearing out the floor. So took out the second floor, put up the wall so you can see the still running right when you walk in. But it's a full grain to bottle, everything under one roof. We got about 43,000 square feet. So we mill, cook, ferment, distill, barrel, and bottle all right here in this place. We've never purchased product from anyone. So everything that you have, or whenever our bourbon comes out, it's because we're sitting down, putting our own down, and putting our roots right here. So we appreciate you all coming in. This was my great-grandfather, Henry Craver. He looks like a banker. He was a banker, so that's right. That's what he's. And in 1889, he was doing business with the Worsham family. Mr. Worsham was a good friend of his. He had a small distillery making 6-8 barrels of bourbon a day. And my great-grandfather bought it in 1889, and within a couple of years, he was making close to probably 200 barrels a week. So But the way you would get alcohol then was, say you were sick, had a sore throat. You go to your doctor, he or she would write your prescription. This is an original one right here. Of course, it came out of Henderson, Kentucky. So we knew that was going to be Peerless. You take it to the pharmacy. The pharmacy would fill these are small, they look bigger, but they're pint bottles. Fill it full of bourbon. You go home and drink it, and 10 days later you get sick again. You can do it every 10 days. So that's how it worked. That was used in Illinois. This one was used in Kansas, Missouri, Ohio, and Michigan. And then this one was used in the state of Kentucky. 220 distilleries during Prohibition. 6 got a license to distribute alcohol during that time. So.
We'll finish up here.
So this is part of the letter in Shercourt. He explained that his dad was sent off to the military school at the age of 5. That's the letter that was actually typed and left out on the desk at Henry Craver's insurance company. And that's pretty much the reason why he was sent off there too as well. You can tell
So they were hiding my father out for 14 years. My great-grandfather, they got this letter, but he also they explained to him, said, if you don't do what we say you're going to do, we're going to kidnap and kill your grandson. My dad was 5. And we're going to burn your house down. So that's the reason why my dad went to military school for 14 years. And they left this letter in my grandfather's insurance company typewriter, the old typewriter.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So you can see the different types of grains and feeds actually bagged up here. So that was pretty cool. We've got them hanging up throughout the distillery too. We took some of the best ones. There were some really interesting ones in there too, though. But
Say John.
what's that?
You had a few.
Oh yeah,
Caleb and I kept a few too to frame for home. They're pretty. It's just amazing how vivid the color is on those.
Yeah. 90% of your bourbon and whiskey come out of Kentucky, basically because of our water source. That limestone water it's just so rich in calcium, just adds great flavor. So when we go to add water into our cook, we're not sourcing or filtering our water. We're literally taking it right from the city lines into our cooker here. You're not going to see a bunch of hoses and gauges and things like that laying around. We actually use medical grade stainless steel piping for everything, and I'll kind of explain a little bit later why that is. But we also run everything off a very sophisticated computer system that our master distiller, Caleb, actually programmed, coded, designed for us. I know, right? It's crazy. He actually went to, I think it was like a 2-week course to teach him how to do it all, too. 2 weeks. Yeah, 2-week course. Is that about right? About 2 weeks, I think?
About 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He ended up teaching that Siemens software engineer a few things that he didn't know were possible with the actual software. It's pretty interesting. He's a nice guy as well.
We're very lucky. Yeah. And we mill all the grain right on site. And it actually comes down that white chute that you see coming down from the top right to the top of the cooker off like a chain and disc system. It's like a conveyor belt that'll drop that milled grain. Once we get our corn and our rye in there, we heat up to about 200 degrees. We'll continue to rise. Once it hits that temperature, we'll let it sit for about 15 minutes there. Then we'll actually cool it down to about 145 degrees inside of the cooker, and then we'll add in our malted barley. The same way, we'll go ahead and mill that grain here and have it come right down that white chute. Now once the malted barley's in there, we hold it for about 30 minutes there at that temperature. Now keep in mind the whole time we're adding grain in, what you see on top right there, that's our agitator, just a fancy word for a mixer. It's going to be constantly mixing all that up for us. Now, after the rye hits that temperature and its holding point, we'll actually cool it down below 100 degrees, and we'll go ahead and pitch our yeast inside the cooker. Basically trying to give that fermentation, let that yeast get a little bit of a jump start. But you know, we always have to be very careful and make sure it's below 100 degrees, because if you put your yeast in when it's too hot, it won't be able to survive in those temperatures, and it'll basically kill your yeast off. Now after that, it will sit about another 15-20 minutes. We'll get it down to basically the fermentation temperature that we wanted to add. And then we'll go ahead and transfer it over here to one of the fermenters. But you know, just one cook, you know, we do 2 cooks and 2 distillations a day. One cook takes about 4 to 5 hours. You know, rye whiskey is very thick. It looks almost like mud when it's in the cooker. So if we're making rye, it's usually about an hour longer on the cook period. And we don't get nearly as good of a yield of alcohol as we do on a rye mash bill. Compared to bourbon, it's about an hour less, and we usually get about 1.5 to 2 more barrels of alcohol out of the bourbon mash bill. But once it's done cooking, when we go down below, I'll give you a better look at it. But we actually have what we call a swing arm station. So it's just 7 pipes, and you can kind of see them right there off the walkway off the back of the cooker. And then we have like a U-shaped pipe that has a big bolt, has a big wrench that we have to use. We'll unloosen it, tighten it back up on moving to whatever line we want to, and then we'll come up to one of these fermenters. Now, these are fermenters that we have. They're about 1,700 gallons. We have, where's our cook? This is from the first cook today that we actually have right here. This one was just transferred up here maybe about an hour ago. I love that smell here. Now, I'm not sure if anybody, have you ever got to taste what a sweet mash actually tastes like? You want to? Go ahead, try a little bit. See, it's going to be totally different. It's going to taste just like, when it first comes up, it's like warm oatmeal. It's so good. How good is that? Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
So, right there. That's our basically just a big holding tank. It's going to slowly take that mash and feed it into our still for us. And if we kind of walk down there, you see these 2 pipes on the left-hand side of the beer well. They go up, then they actually go over into the wall. When we go see the still room, you'll actually see where they come out of the wall and are being fed into the still. These 2 are probably up on the next distillation. You can see they're really running towards the end here. Now, what's really neat, I also like to kind of give a shout out locally. We have Fall City Brewery here. They do a style of beer called Kentucky Common, which is basically bourbon that never went into distill. It's basically what this would be like in a beer form. Just in case you're ever curious what bourbon might taste like if you left it into a beer form.
And a number of breweries have used our barrels as well.
Yeah, we got plenty of breweries that have used to make some really good aged stouts and things like that too.
Monic and Mile Wide are probably the 2 of note locally.
And they're great. They did, Fall City did, I think, the first one with us, and they did one called a rope-a-dope, kind of paid contribute to Muhammad Ali, and it was great. It was one of the best porters I think I've had. If you start at the very top, we count 5 down. You actually see this pipe move on the left-hand side of the still that comes into the still. That's actually where the mash will first enter the still. It doesn't just drop right in from the top. Below each one of these little windows right here, these are the steam trays that we have inside of our still. They're actually right up here on the wall. The smaller holes are going to be where your steam is rising up to the bottom of the still, grabbing the alcohol out of the mash. The bigger pipe fitting is actually where the water drains flow to. And they do just basically a big zigzag. They drop down to that next plate, circle across it, drop down to the next one, and just work their way all the way down. We'll separate our water and grains off into here. And like I said, rather than pumping that back into the cooker, we just have a big tank out back that we pump everything out there too. Try to give it away to local farmers. If they can't come in and get it, we then just have to treat the acidic levels and send it down the sewer drain. But believe me, we'd much rather give it to the farmers, because that just means we have a lot of happy cows, because it's about 1% alcohol, which is why we have the best steak and pork here in Kentucky. Now, besides our sweet mash technique, we do everything at barrel strength. So rather than adding the water at the back end when it's done aging, we put our water on the front end. So when it comes off around 130 proof, and we kind of walk around, you'll see it, we have a big proofing tank right behind here. The thing's ginormous. We'll pump everything over in there, and we'll go ahead and add our water. We'll get everything down to 107 proof, then we put it into our barrels. Our thought process is, let's turn that water into an ingredient, because now we get to put that water inside the barrel. It's going to pick up all that flavoring, all that coloring, compared to, what you might want to do to help save some money as well is, come off your still around 120, 125 proof, put that into your barrels. After it's done aging, then you add your water, get it down to 80, 90, or 100 proof. But you're basically taking a lot of unflavored water and throwing it down on top of this beautiful aged barrel. So it takes away from the coloring and the flavoring. So we always say, if you want to add water, we'll let you do that. We're not going to put any water in there for you. And I believe you can add water for bourbon up to like 4 times, if that's how many times you're actually allowed to add water to it. But once we get it down to 107, we put it in our barrels and they're done aging. We bring them right down here to our processing station. So this is where all our finished barrels come. We have this little lift we'll roll them up onto. This will bring the barrels up, but we can then roll them across here. These little rollers will actually come up and lift up the barrel. We'll take out the bungs. This is just your breathing tube to help it kind of come out. We'll roll it right over here. All our product comes right out in here. This right here kind of acts like a filter, helps catch all those char chunks that come out of your barrel. Because right underneath there is just a big tank that our product will actually go to. Once we get enough in there, we'll pump everything all the way over into our mingling tank. So I know you probably see on our bottles, we always put a small batch on there. I mean, there is no definition of what a small batch is, but we only use on average, Caleb is only using about 6 barrels or less to mingle and make these batches compared to, 800 to 1,000 barrels. So it makes his job a little more tougher too, because you gotta think he's gotta find 6 barrels every time to create kind of like a consistent product for us to have here. Which I took a class about a week or 2 ago, and it really gave you a whole kind of a new perspective on that art form of actually mingling and getting these barrels together. We don't chill filter, we don't charcoal filter, we run everything just through a simple paper filter or a cotton filter. Looks like a bunch of coffee filters right inside of there. This will be hooked up to the bottom of that stainless steel tote. We'll pump everything down here through the filter into the tote, then down to the bottling here for the bottling process. We try to leave, as Corky was explaining, when we taste these barrels and we're grading and tasting these barrels, whatever those flavors and anything we're picking up, we want you all to have that same experience. So we don't like to water anything down. We don't want to run it through a chill filtration. We just want to keep it in the most natural state as possible from that barrel. Any questions? About this. So I come in the morning, right, and I need to start adding grain. Well, rather than shoveling grain into my mill or having to empty up in bags, I'll come right over to my computer system. Say I need 3,000 pounds of the grain. Well, I'll put that into my computer system, go to whatever grain bin I want to use. I'll pull open this chute right here. All my grain falls down to this piping system right underneath there that has that chain and link disc system in it. It will drag my grain up to a weigh station, weigh it out for me, then drop it right down into my roller mill. Basically behind each one of these knobs are those big grinders that's milling that grain down. And then it goes off on a separate pulley system up and over and down that white chute that we actually have. You met up there. Now it's really unique, we could have had this made out of the country for like 1/3 of the cost. But we really want to stay inside the US. And Corky wanted virgin glass. He didn't want anything recycled. So you're gonna notice, we don't have any coloring or bubbling in the glass. Every bottle is going to sit perfectly right on your bar or on your back shelf. We started off by putting a solid piece of glass right here on the bottom. That way, when our product's in there, it's already up on its own little pedestal right there. We used a real cork, the DSP Kentucky 50 across the top there. We got Henry Craver's signature right across the top. Now, the one thing I love about this is no matter where you're enjoying this at, no matter what you get from us, it came right from here in this building. We didn't source any barrels or any product out, which is why, we don't have a bourbon out. Our rye's at a 3-year. Some places build and we actually have a 10-year product already. But that's not us knocking anybody that sources product. We just didn't feel comfortable doing that. We wanted to make sure people knew that it came right here in our building whenever you received anything. So if you look on the bottom of our bottle, you'll see our address right there, 120 North 10th Street, Louisville, Kentucky, made in the USA. We actually found a company outside of Atlanta, Georgia that does our bottle, and they only do our mold. So they do all your like Highland cologne and perfume bottles. But they actually finally agreed to do our mold and then sent our bottle off for that award that Corky was talking about, the gold award right here. Basically every year they do a award for best label, best cap, and best bottle. First year someone's won all three that actually won that award. Barrels but all our barrels come from Kelvin Cooperage. They're just about 20 minutes down the road from us. They're originally from Scotland, but they're now, they're based right here in Louisville. The unique thing about Kelvin's is when it comes time to char and heat up their barrels, they actually will not use any gas. They'll take all the leftover oak from the barrel staves and barrel heads and then make these big oak fire pits to help give a little more of that natural kind of a flavor to the wood. So after they do the toasting, then they'll do their charring. You have a char level 1, 2, 3, and 4. We do a char level 3 inside of all our barrels. Helps give that beautiful kind of amber color too with it. And the nice thing about this, these barrels aren't coming down being pieced together like on a conveyor belt. These big guys over there, hand fitting all these staves together, putting the ring down, tightening them up. It's truly something to see if you've never actually got a chance to actually get in the cooperage.
They're going to Kelvin tomorrow.
Oh, great! Because I'd say they don't usually do tours because they like to say it's an HR nightmare to actually get people in there. So feel very lucky and to actually be able to go in there and see it being made, because it's not for me. It's like 1,000 degrees in there, so just prepare yourself to sweat even though it's cold outside.
It's like a shoes
we don't want to temperature control anything because that's the beautiful thing about Kentucky is we don't have to. It has that natural kind of a weather system that we need. But we actually didn't want to do any more than one floor. So all our rig houses are designed to be one floor. We only stack about 5, maybe 6 high on them. Because from temperature-wise difference from top to bottom, you're only going to look at maybe a 5 to 6 degrees temperature-wise difference. Where if I build a rig house and say I have 4 floors, on a hot summer Kentucky day from top to bottom, you're looking anywhere between 40 to 30 degrees temperature-wise difference. So you notice your barrels up top are going to be those hot, spicy, just knock you right in the mouth. Where your ones down low are going to tend to be a little more your sweeter, kind of calmer barrels, as they say. But we like to joke around and say, all our barrels are good. We don't have to worry about the ones being up top a little bit too spicy compared to the ones at the bottom. We seem pretty consistent, aging throughout the rig house. But we also, what's really neat is we have a clocking system though here. So, you want where your bung is on the barrel, you want them to always be facing up because it's the weakest part. So you can see these are all nice and uniform, not just by design, but what it is though, so imagine this rick being empty right here. Well, I'm loading my first barrel up in here, but by the time I roll it all the way back, I need that bung to be facing straight up on that barrel. So we have what we call a clocking system. So I know the first barrel that I put on here, that bung may need to be at 9 o'clock. That way when it first sits on there, by the time I roll it all the way back, it's facing straight up, and then the next barrel will be a different time. And believe me, you want to get really good at this, because if not, what's going to happen is you're going to get that barrel all the way back there, it's not going to be perfect, and you have to roll it all the way back. You can try to fix it when it's on there, but you also got to keep in mind they will fall off these ricks, and you don't want to do that because then you got to get on your radio and call about 3 other people to come down and help you, and they don't let you live it down for a long time if you start rolling barrels off the ricks. Trust me, I still live it to this day. But we actually don't own any of our barrels, so another interesting, we can only use them once for a bourbon and a rye. So we actually just rent them from Kelvin's. When we're done with our barrels, we'll send them back to Kelvin's. They'll give us a little bit of a credit on them. Because then what they can do now is break those barrels down. They send them off to Scotland to make scotch, Ireland to make whiskey. Your winery and brewers, as we talked about earlier, will purchase them too as well. So that makes things really nice too. So I like messing with Scotch people. It's all the reason their Scotch is so good. It has a little bit of that American whiskey and bourbon. Some of them find it funny, some of them don't. It just depends on which ones you're dealing with on that. And pulling all these off, you see we have these little alleyways kind of designed right here. So I'll take a little flashlight that goes on my little headlamp right there.
Not for the claustrophobic.
Exactly, yeah. And we'll just scoot right down here, down these little alleyways that you can actually see right down here. You'll see some of these have little pegs in them right here. So what I'll do when I need my sample is I'll just take a drill. I'll drill in the top part, relieve some of that gas and pressure. Then I'll come down here to another spot, drill my hole, fill up my sample bottles, and plug them right back up to these oak plugs. Once again, just makes life a lot easier too on us. Now, one interesting thing Kayla came up with here is he really wanted to kind of showcase, that aging process, but we wanted to make somewhat of a collector set for people to be able to have. So he came up with this brilliant idea. You actually see these first 6, 7 barrels right here that have Series 1 on them. So what this is, we actually only made 300 of these, and when they're gone, they're gone. But this is actually for our bourbon. So when you purchase a Series 1, your first bottle will get your new make, your unaged bourbon right off the still. Then the next barrel we dumped right here, this first one, we dumped it 6 months. So you can kind of see the change that's taking place within 6 months of that barrel. Every year we dump that next barrel. So far we have a 1 year, a 2 year. This past December we dumped our 3 year, and it still comes with the 4 and a 5. So if you purchase your collector set and you choose to open it up, it's going to allow you to taste your bourbon through that whole aging process. Understand all the flavor and everything that comes along with it in the years. But that's if you choose to open it. I don't know if I'll be opening mine, but you know, just in case you all are curious about that. This open. He's going to let the angel share completely take this one. This is going to be his great grandfather's barrel. This is going to be Henry Craver's right here. Some of us like that idea. Some of us are try to be talking him out of that. You know, we want to know what barrel one tastes like. But you know, the interesting thing is, you know, as he was explaining, everything's set up through a trust. I mean, this has to go through 130 years of the family. So you know, we have the 6th and 7th generations, Carson's 2 boys. So the joke is, you know, whenever they get out of prison, they'll probably come down here and run things. Because, you know, when they're down here, it's all hands on deck. This is a normal life for them. So they're trying to fill barrels, turn on any equipment. We try to keep him from giving Caleb a heart attack too much, messing around the still.
They're now 11 and 9 years old.
Yeah, so they're getting up there.
That's how old my boys are, and I can definitely relate to that present comment.
See, I give them whatever they want because I'm hoping they get the age. They'll remember how cool I was. And
Yeah.
maybe give me some of the family bourbon collection or something
Smart.
like that. Yeah. So I give them whatever they want.
Which you probably already have one of these.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Where did you find that?
I got this from Japan, but it's not full. It's empty. On
No,
the fridge,
no,
but I thought it's quite,
Oh my gosh.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Awful nice.
Yeah,
I certainly
my pleasure.
appreciate that.
How does it compare to that one, Dylan?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
same exact thing.
Yeah.
That's very
Same,
cool.
Same good.
look at that.
No, it's a little bit different from what
Yeah.
Rowan was.
No, thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.